Bună ziua! Sunt Dana Cavaleru, director executiv HR Club și mare fan Joblandia și bucuroasă astăzi să moderez prima oară un eveniment în 4 locații în care eu stau pe o chestie verde și cei de afară văd, ecranul acela frumos pe care îl vedeți și voi, deci dacă nu vreți să vedeți covor verde, vă uitați pe ecran cei din sală, ceilalți vedeți doar ecranul, e perfect. Bun, haideți să vedem cine este astăzi aici. Să începem cu Clujul. Clujul, ne auziți? Servus!
Aici suntem, servus!
Mă bucur că v-ați adunat, am văzut niște imagini mai devreme în care Clujul era blocat de grevă și nu circula nimic, deci cred că, da, e bine. Da. Bun. Timișoara?
Da, suntem aici.
Nu vă văd. Ceau! Corect? Bun, mi-a ieșit bani.
Da.
Mă bucur să ne vedem. Iași?
Bună de la Iași, salut!
Salut, bine v-am găsit! Am auzit că nu aveți alt salut caracteristic la Iași, deci bună ziua!
Bun, salut!
Bun, și salutare București, bine ați venit cu toții. Mă bucur tare mult că suntem peste 100-120 de persoane în cele 4 locații. Și dăm astăzi cumva startul experienței Joblandia. Dați-mi voie să spun câteva cuvinte despre Joblandia celor care nu știți încă așa despre nimic despre proiectul acesta, dar m-aș îndoi, adică nu știu, poate studenți. Bun, deci, ce ne-am propus? Este un proiect extrem de tânăr, a început acum câteva luni, este răspunsul organizației noastre, comunității de HR, la nevoia de orientare practică în carieră a studenților. Ne-am dorit foarte mult ca să contribuim la a scădea numărul celor care renunță la facultatea pe care au început-o, da? Este cifrată cam 50% dintre studenți, nu știu studenții din sală de aici ce păreau, dar așa scrie statistica, cam 50% renunță la 1 sau 2. Și foarte mulți tineri, din păcate, care aleg, cum spunea cineva într-un chestionar, o tânără studentă, s-a gândit mai mult dimineața cum își alege, cu ce se îmbracă, de când și-a ales facultatea. Da? Deci, și atunci am zis să începem mai de jos și am început cu săptămâna Joblandia dedicată liceenilor. Voi cei din sală ați trecut de etapa aceasta, în care ne propunem să arătăm cât mai multe experiențe practice, să vadă ce înseamnă să lucrezi în diverse companii. Avem în momentul ăsta cam 70 de licee care au fost în diverse locuri. Îmi spunea Simona acum de la BCR că a avut deja peste 100 de copii. La Gempact, cu pe Crin aici, ați avut câteva clase multe, nu știu exact câte, 3-4 clase ați avut și voi, da? Deci se adună și vrem să rostogolim acest bulgăre, să creștem cât mai mult experiența adolescenților în această perioadă de liceu pentru a alege mai educat. Din păcate, 23% dintre copii, între tineri între 16 și 24 de ani în țara asta nu sunt nicăieri, nici la muncă, nici la școală. Ar trebui să facem ceva pentru ei. Bun, ăsta este programul pentru elevi. Cei aflați astăzi aici nu mai sunteți elevi, sunteți studenți sau munciți. Asta e, da? Unii dintre noi am mai vrea să fim studenți din diverse perspective, mai ales de vârstă. Da, nu se poate întotdeauna să faci ceea ce vrei. Bun. Și cine este astăzi în aceste 3 săli, ca să facem așa o înțelegere a grupului? Sunteți studenți în diverse facultăți, studenți membri în diverse asociații studențești, recomandați de profesorii voștri, masteranți sau doctoranți și oameni de HR de diverse vârste și niveluri, ca să zic așa, asta cu vârsta iar mi-e și prost, nu-i bună, nu? Așa, deci de diverse experiențe de HR, pentru că noi tocmai am dat drumul startul unui proiect intern al asociației noastre de mentoring în HR între diverse generații de HR și pentru ei este un prim eveniment. Toate acestea puse sub umbrela Experiența Joblandia este proiectul pentru studenți pe care vrem să-l construim împreună cu voi. Este proiectul știm că sunt tot felul de lucruri care se întâmplă pentru studenți, sunt multe asociații studențești care fac tot felul de lucruri. Ne-am dorit ca acest Experiența Joblandia să fie construită cu voi pe gustul vostru și mai ales care să vă aducă beneficii, să simțiți că după aceasta vă este mai clar ce aveți de făcut. Cum spuneam cu cineva mai devreme, vorbeam, poate faceți un profil economic, dar nu vă e foarte clar ce ați vrea să plecați din economic. Puteți face, nu știu, de la a veni în bancă, în KPMG sau să vă duceți în orice altă companie care funcționează financiar, să lucrați în vânzări, să lucrați în whatever există pe lumea asta. Și asta am vrea noi să facă pentru ei, pentru voi, printre altele, acest proiect. Cam atâta am avut eu așa de spus de introducere. Să văd dacă am uitat ceva, vă zic. N-am uitat, zău. Bun. Și n-aș vrea să trec mai departe fără a mulțumi celor care fac posibil acest eveniment. Partenerilor noștri, Joblandia, care acum de câteva luni ne susțin, și avem BCR, OMV și Kaufland mai curând. Sunt pe aici, prin sală, cred, reprezentanții lor. Bună! Este KPMG-ul care ne-a oferit această sală. Maria este minunată și tocmai acum a plecat când o lăudam. Să-i spuneți bine? Mă spun? Ok. Și Asociația Europene de European Mentoring Counseling, Coaching and Counseling, yes, ok. Deci, Consiliul European de Mentoring și Counseling și Coaching ar fi, nu? În român, corect. So, EMCC for being part of this. So, I'll switch now to English because soon we'll get to Riza, our special guest for today, and say a few words about this partnership. Actually, when I thought about starting Joblandia Experience, we was looking around about who can give know-how on mentoring. And it happens that some of our members are also members of EMCC, and we discussed with Vlad and Georgeta here, and we planned this event as a starting point for Joblandia Experience. We want to take what's happening today in the workshop and develop in the summertime between festivals, Untold, Never See, and so on. We'll try to find 2-3 days for a design thinking experiment. So we'll build a wonderful program for all of you. So that's all for my part from the moment. I'll be back after Riza's keynote. Before then, let me introduce to you Georgeta Dendrino, which you might know her as Interact, and now you'll know her as a VP of, you have to come here between lines, okay? It's a VP EMCC for diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Perfect. Please.
Thank you, Dana. Hello, everybody. I was told to stay here. It is my pleasure and my honor today to introduce to you our special guest, the president of EMCC Global, Riza KADILAR. I need to say that in preparation for this, I was impressed with his background. He graduated from top schools, business schools of the world, such as Stanford, HEC, Haute École de Commerce, France, and INSEAD, France. And he has a lot of experience, leadership experience, at various international banks in the UK, the Netherlands, France, and Turkey. And he has more than 20 years of training and coaching in more than 30 countries. He wrote 5 books, and he's preparing the 6th one. The 6th one is going to be on diversity and inclusion, and I look forward to read it. Hopefully it's not going to be in Turkish. Riza is coming from Turkey. He wrote as well numerous articles, and he founded the China Institute in Turkey. He's a faculty member of European Leadership University. As you see, many things to say about him. And I would say that he's a polymath leader because he has activity and interests in several areas, such as investment banking, financial advisory, executive coaching and mentoring, leadership development in the digital age, food tech, and then energy finance, carbon markets, change management, corporate governance, and maybe other ones. So I would like to invite here Riza KADILAR.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I've ever met.
Thank you. And before we start, I just wanted to remember Tina Turner. She was a great artist. And we'll talk about today mentoring. And mentoring is also some kind of an art, So I just wanted to start with remembering her and rest her in peace. So that was a kind of big loss. And also, we will remember some good things about her going forward. Okay, we have about 1 hour. We need to first set the boundaries, then I disappear. Okay, I know my boundaries. And we're going to do some work together as well, all right? So it's not me just speaking for 1 hour. You'll be really tired at the end. But before we do that, let's also first get to know the person next to you. Okay, very quickly, I will ask you to say hi. But before you do that, we're not alone here. So we're going to do the same with one of the rooms there. So we're going to handshake. So who is volunteering to handshake with me? Yeah, all right, okay, we're going to try. So put your hand. Okay, no, not that way.
Yes. Like this.
Okay, I'm doing, yeah, we made it, yeah. All right, so please say hi to the person next to you, please, yeah. Could you say, please, the same thing goes to other rooms as well. Please say hi to the person next to you. Perfect. So you're going to have some time to work together, all right? We'll have some sessions where we'll be talking to each other.
Thank you, Riza.
Excellent. All right. Before we start, I will get my... You have it, all right, perfect. Great teamwork, by the way. I'd like to first thank to Vlad for making it happen. So we share lots of vision and passion going forward. And I'm really grateful, Vlad, and all members of EMCC Romania, as I see some of them here. So I will explain why I feel so passionate about what you're going to do here today. Because this Joblandia, the job creation, is not unique to one country. It's a main trend everywhere in the world. And mentoring being one of the best applications, best tool. So we'll see how it goes. In the first part, I'm asked to speak for about 1 hour. I will dedicate a part of my speech to what's going on in the world as I see in the management leadership domain. Then we're going to talk about some key issues and talk about mentoring, all right? So from then on, in the second part, we're going to have a break. And in the second part, you will work together to create this program. So let's try whether it works or not. Yep. Okay, first of all, most probably you all know about EMCC. EMCC is a professional body that was established almost 30 years ago. And we are here to, develop, advocate, promote, and set the expectations of the best practice when it comes to coaching, mentoring, and supervision. Supervision is a tool to ensure continuous professional development. So the words are not necessarily meaning the same, but actually this is an ongoing way to ensure the best quality, best practice in mentoring and coaching. So it started as a mentoring organization, then turned into coaching, and now both of them are, working together. And we exist to make it for the benefit of the society. At the end of the day, whatever we do, I always repeat, I'm not here for the coaches or mentors. They're all grown-ups, okay? So they can deal with their issues. But I'm really here for coaching and mentoring as a work, as a practice. Because I have a big claim. Every single profession in today's world needs to have some sort of coaching and mentoring competencies. I will explain why. So that's why we are all collectively here, kind of helping the whole community to benefit from there. A couple of things. Our strategic plan says we are their third partner for anyone in the world when it comes to coaching, mentoring, and supervision. So thank you for your trust. Together, I don't know what we're going to create, but that will be something that's really in line. Our accreditations is fully aligned with the global higher education learning, lifelong learning frameworks. So unlike some other organization, we do recognize your prior experience. We do recognize your prior learning, and how you can transfer it to mentoring and coaching domain, which means when you attend a training school accredited by EMCC, like a university, you get your individual accreditation as well. So that's kind of was not the case a long time ago. Now it is, and we're growing like crazy all over the world because it's kind of very touching anything. And, we are also there to really, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship, new development of skills development. We do a lot of work with European Commission on skilling, reskilling, upskilling. We are a partner of the Pact for Skills for Europe. So what we learn from them, we also apply in North America, Latin America, and we have Asia Pacific growing globally now. That's, I think, enough for EMCC. Before we talk more about the whole issues, let's put the bases together, all right? When we say mentoring, because, many people can use the same word for different reasons. The way we look at the mentoring is developmental mentoring. There's also like sponsorship mentoring. In our case, it's both mentor and mentee learn during the process. The definition, it took about 2 years for us to come with this definition because we did a meta-analysis. We checked all the programs in the world, as much as we can find. And we came up with a definition is a learning relationship involving sharing of skills, knowledge, and expertise between a mentor and a mentee, through developmental conversations, experience sharing, and role modeling. So it could cover a variety of contexts. It's inclusive, two-way partnership, and respect the differences. And there's a mutual learning. I will be sharing with you context sharing, for example, or contextual wisdom. These are the topics that we're going to cover. In mentoring, there is no advice giving. Because when you give advice, if it's a good advice, hey, well done, mentor. If it's a bad advice, that's just because of the mentor. But we are here for mentee to grow, to learn. So in that respect, we are not talking about sharing or giving advice, but we're talking about sharing context for inspiration, to bring more perspective in the thinking of the mentee. So I'm going to touch upon all this. But are we okay with this definition? So we are talking about for mentor and mentee to learn. It's a journey. There is no convincing. There is no judgment. There is no persuasion. There is no one way or right way or whatever. So we are here to really respect the differences and also inspire each other to find new ways of looking at the same issue and come up with maybe other positions, solutions, and everything. Some highlights. I just wanted to touch upon some of the paradigms or big paradoxes of the leadership. I like this word. It says you can bring the horse to water, but you cannot make them drink it. When you think about Generation Z, Alpha, or if you have a child or a nephew, I think you would understand, or maybe our young friends over here, they will maybe understand this better. Because when I started banking, we used to lead by instructions. Somebody tells you what to do, and you have to do it. Today, there is no such thing. So you have to win the hearts and minds of the people that you're working with. And the second thing I like, it's the partnerships are not created by partners, but by common goals. So when a man and woman get married, it's not about them. It's about their future selves aspiring for something for the future that brings them together. This is true for businesses, this is true for partnerships, this is for companies, NGOs, everywhere. I touched upon this, some basics. It's a non-judgmental developmental dialogue. We're talking about context sharing and inspiration. And we're also talking about maybe empowering young generation with reverse mentoring and everything, all right? So let me go. We did some research on leadership. I don't know how many of you are grown with kind of my age with Superman, like saving the world, yeah. Now, how many of you are watching the Avengers or whatever, or even Harry Potter? At our time, there was a superhero, and now there's a gang of heroes. So it's nothing coincidence. It's technology, it's demographics, we're gonna touch upon inclusion, many different reasons. Now we're talking about collaborative leadership. Even this COVID, the vaccine, it took humanity 18 months. How did we do it? Think about the early days of the COVID, talking about Spanish flu, talking about the end of civilization, the big fear factor. Those centers all over the world, they learned how to collaborate together. Like 600-700 centers in the world, watching the virus developing and mutating. So it was an amazing example of how humanity can collaborate and overcome these obstacles. Like Yuval Harari talking about Homo sapiens. There were other homos, stronger, faster, wilder, whatever. But he says sapiens won because they knew how to collaborate. It's been always the same case. But now the collaboration changed a little bit, so I'm going to touch upon this. And are we ready for those changes? So this is a study by, I think, Deloitte or whatever, so one of, reliable player in the field. And it simply says majority of the companies are not ready to deal with this. Or even better that way. Yeah, I like it. And maybe another study, this is by Institute of Corporate Productivity. When we look at the cultures of organizations, there are some cultural fitness where the keywords are about employee-focused, inclusive, quality learning and everything. And there are toxic organizations like non-inclusive, bureaucratic, and then we're talking about chaotic, complacent, hierarchical, insensitive. I should really congratulate the partner in here, KPMG, for the choice of the paintings in the entrance. Did you watch them? Did you notice them? There are two paintings. One of them is cutthroat competition. Like, you will check during the break, okay? And the other one is about flourishing, about people planting trees collaboratively. So I think it's an excellent choice of two different, cultures to show how, the corporate life is moving forward. And this is a study by McKinsey. You remember that some of the topics become very fashionable very quickly. The big resign, people were resigning, and they asked, why are you resigning? So some of the things are, maybe you can make it bigger again. Some of the things, this is the same graph. Right-hand side is the employer's point of view. Left-hand side, employee's point of view. And in the circled area, what is really striking, this is valued by organization or not valued by manager or sense of belonging lacking. But one thing that's really interesting, they talk about having or not having caring and trusting teammates. So, we were always saying that people don't resign. People don't leave the company, but they leave their managers. And we make better managers and the problem solved. Not really. Today, we also want caring teammates. Not only the company, but also the manager. But at the same time, all the teammates, we expect them to be caring and supportive. And another study. So, I just wanted to balance the things here. This is from PwC. And they talk about the paradoxes. It's another, big study. And paradox means they live together, okay? It's not just one or another. So they all kind of live together. In the leadership domain, we expect the leaders to be humble, reachable, but at the same time, hero. When anything goes wrong, we want them to save the world. But at the same time, we want them to be accessible, like, not big nose, whatever, but accessible person, but at the same time hero. Or we want them to be strategic. Strategy is important, but we want them also to execution. Strategy in itself doesn't really help. We want traditional leaders, but innovation. We want tech-savvy leaders, because technology is changing everything as we speak, but it's for the humanity, isn't it? We want human-centered leaders who are also tech-savvy. Not easy job for a superhero. So that's why maybe the team is coming forward. Globally minded, localist, and also integrity, but also politician. It doesn't mean politicians are not with integrity. It means you have to find your way in the corridors of an organization in order to reach your goal, in order to stay relevant. But doing it with high integrity, you need to learn your way around. So put all those together, we need more dialogue. We need more understanding, mutual understanding. So the old, when I did my MBA, we had these organigrams, okay, the boxes. Maybe you still have those boxes. And then we define the job descriptions, and we find people to fit in. Now we realize that it's more than those boxes, the lines, especially the dotted lines between boxes, that matters. So that's kind of all showing the same. And a little bit, because this is Joblandia, we gotta find out what are the skills that's required in today's world. And this is a study actually done in 2017 or whatever for the future skills of 2020. It's in Palo Alto, a Stanford-related institute. And they came with these 10 different skills for the future. The future has already passed. So that's why I like using this slide. So we can share all the slides with you, so you don't have to take note. But what's really interesting here, it starts with sense-making, social intelligence, novel and adaptive thinking, cross-cultural competency. And then comes computational thinking, or cognitive load management. We tend to think all new work area is technology related, but at the end of the humanity is humanity, and the social or humanistic aspect, the soft skills, are still so important when it comes to. Another study just last week, this is why WEF, World Economic Forum, so each year they announce the top skills for, you can find it on internet. I also shared it on my LinkedIn and everything. But which is also interesting, on the top, you see lots of skills on self-efficacy, ethics, working with others. These are really the soft skills, the outdated soft skills, aren't they? In today's high technology environment, we still are expecting people to reflect on their past. By the way, I forgot to tell you at the very beginning, the best way to stay connected is LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn a lot. And in case you have any question or anything to follow up, or copy of presentation, whatever, just, let's get connected. So I will do my best to come back to you with any of your questions going forward there. And last word about this augmented reality. This, it's most probably, there's a kind, in the job market, there's a big differentiation. Anything that touches with the technology and everything goes up, K-shape, and all others kind of replaced. But AI is not here, and will take a long time to come here. So you're not going to lose your job to a robot or a bot, but you will lose your job with someone who knows how to work with a robot or a bot. So these are all the thinking going on in the job market nowadays. And you're already doing an excellent job with hybrid here, so I don't want to talk about this. Basically, this is the last slide of the first part of my speech. Put all this together. This is an article, a white paper, written by 2 Harvard Business School professors, recent, just a few months ago. And they claim there's a big discontent. I just learned in Romania, 23% of the young generation, they are not in the workforce and they are not in the schooling system. So which shows a kind of discontent, isn't it? Or maybe in the, and this is not only with Europe. I was speaking at a conference in India. They are so much in trouble with mental health issues. At EMCC, we do a project in Hong Kong about high school kids' suicides. Amazing things going on in the world. And there's a discontent. And in the corporate life, those professors, I think it's a very readable paper. It's not a huge one. So if you want, I can send you the original text. They come up with 3 main questions. The first question is, what's it all about? I'm working hard. I'm kind of putting my energy in it, my life in it. But what's the purpose? How am I going to be driven by purpose? And which purpose? You know, that's a big question. Those companies, we all exist for serving a certain purpose, isn't it? But do we really all agree on what purpose do we share? Why we exist? Why, going on? Why? And the second big question, do I matter? Skilling, upskilling, things change, redundancy plans. People are kind of, putting out layoff and everything. As Yuval Harari says, maybe we're going towards a kind of redundant class, isn't it? It's tiring. It's difficult to be always relevant and not feeling replaceable easily. And the third one, am I in the club? So when things do happen, am I in the room? Have you watched Hamilton, the musical? I recommend you. This is my daughter's favorite, Hamilton, the musical. And there's a song. It says, I want to be in the room when it happens. And it's a great song, by the way. I want to be in the room when it happens. So the same thing for all of us. Many big decisions are taken that's affecting my life, my job, my everything, my future. But am I in the room when they take these decisions? Am I in the club? Are there some glass ceilings that prevents me? It's kind of touching about inclusion topic. So those 3 big questions are kind of affecting not only the job market, but also the life we lead nowadays. So I think that's enough for me to talk about, how we see what's going on in the world. Now I would really like you to reflect on this. Everything I said. You can create some small groups or person next to you. The same applies for the other rooms. So please find someone to reflect whatever you agree, you don't agree, any kind of feeling that kind of triggers everything I said to you. Where are you now? What is all the things I shared so far means to you? Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes to share. Find someone and share. The same applies to the other rooms. Yes, somebody started. Josh, you're not. Talk to each other. Yep, you're doing a great job. Well done. You're on big screen. Yep. All right, maybe last 1 minute to wrap up. All right. Not all right. Okay, maybe I can invite some of you. Anyone who want to share anything you shared with your small groups? No, Mike, just say something. Excellent.
Thank you. I can break the ice probably. So, a few things. First of all, thank you for actually bringing a lot of valuable content in such a crisp manner. For me, the reflection was everything is changing. So the only constant is change. And we were debating that for us, for me, and for my partner of discussion, we love change. But in the same time, we recognize that not everyone likes the same speed of change, the same dynamic of change, and not everyone makes peace with the paradoxes, although life is a paradox in itself. So, that was our reflection.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comment to share? Yes?
Hello. I was sharing with my new friend here, Andrei, who is a student in the first year. And I read a study about the skills which are most important now when looking for a job. And on the first place, it was creative thinking. And I shared with him that 20 years ago or something, when I was looking for a job, it didn't even exist at that time, these criteria or skills in the job ad. And now, nowadays, the resilience is in the 5th place. And 20 years ago was something like mandatory to have resilience and stress resistance, and at least here in Romania. So this was the sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yep.
Thank you. I learned from Raluca. I'm going to, to cite you. The fact that in your introduction, when talking about mentoring, you've made an interesting comment, and she highlighted it, and I resonated a lot. The fact that mentoring is not about giving advices, and we stayed a bit on this idea because advice, at least in our understanding, is telling somebody what to do. Advice shouldn't be an advice, but more bringing information, enlarging the context. And I think that it was, at least I liked her insight a lot.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. All right, let's do an exercise all together, okay, now? It wasn't in the program. You just inspired me with your comments about change. I will ask you to cross your arms. Like, everybody kind of crosses their arm in one way or another. And then please pay attention. Most probably one hand is up, one hand is down, or both of them are up, both of them are down. Please try it. Put your arms together, like, cross your arms. Yeah? Very simple exercise. Just watch, which one is up, which one is down. And now make the other way around. Whoever up, go down, and the one goes up, okay? ugh. Feel it comfortable. And for some people, it's not about crossing arm, but when you put your, fingers like this, one finger is down, one is up, whatever, and you change your hands. Any kind of change makes us uncomfortable. Nobody likes change in a way, but we know how to live with it. We know how to deal with it. But do we really want it? Sometimes some of the changes we like it, but some of them we don't. So every kind of change with a resistance comes with a resistance. And in the Gestalt, for example, area in coaching, we work always with the resistance. Not with the person or whatever the topic, but the resistance. When you honor the resistance, the paradox of change comes. Anyway, that just reminded me of this. So let's move on a little bit more. I'm going to touch upon a little bit on inclusion, then a quick break, and then that break, I mean like a conversation like this. Then we will finish it with mentoring, okay? So far, we are on track. You still have energy? Nobody's saying that you're in the wrong place, like wrong room or whatever? All right, good. Let's have the presentation. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna maybe, I can start with that one. Lots of similar studies, lots of reflections on everything I said, comes to certain patterns. One of them is co-creation, collaboration. Nobody is really willing. We are all kind of Gen Z in ourselves. We don't want to be told what to do. We want to co-create with others. So that's everywhere. We're talking about multidisciplinary. There is no like one expertise standing alone. Even the research is not done by the labs in standalone. They all work together now. It's all collaboration between disciplines, different disciplines. It's no longer control and command. Nobody wants to be controlled. Nobody wants to be commanded. So, of course, there are some areas when there's an urgency, there's a kind of, I don't know, like a fire here or whatever. So there are some, quick reflexes we have to build upon. But in our daily life, in our daily, management style, leadership style, command and control doesn't work. Trust and the value of diversity, we're going to touch upon this in a minute now. Sense of unity, not power over, but power with. As I said, sense-making and mindfulness. I'm going to touch upon this. So these are the themes that come from the research. Anyway, so inclusion. Maybe you know this saying, Maya Angelou. She says, people do forget what you did, what you said, whatever, but they don't forget how you make them feel. Why I put this? Because diversity is an action item. You make plans, you create attributes, and you fill in the boxes with those attributes. You create a diversity in your team. Inclusion is a feeling. It's not an action. You feel included or not. So basically, I can bring everything together, yeah. Inclusion is a feeling, and this is a feeling of, being respected, being trusted, being seen, being heard, feeling safe in a way, a sense of belonging, and being able to be your best self and best performance. Very easy to say, but very difficult. For example, I was working with a great professor, Nora, from University of New Mexico. They do lots of research on mentoring. And she told me about respect, for example. She's of Mexican origin. She lives in New Mexico. And she says, in their family, for her parents, respect means, you have to listen to your parents. The child doesn't have anything to say, should behave, and the parent feels respected when they kind of say everything they want to say and things are done in their own way. Okay? Being respected. And for her children, being respected means you can say whatever you want to say, you can react, you can counter-argue, you can create tantrums, you can, object, and then you feel respected. Not easy. When we say about, being respected comes with inclusion, whatever. Yeah, but causality is a bit different and not easy. Everything I said like goes that way. So that's why it's a feeling, and you can't really create this feeling by instructions. It's a feeling that's been created by reflective practice, reflective study. I'm going to touch at the very end this. And it's a kind of, environment that creates curiosity, warmth, sharing. It brings some sort of, feeling for contribution, transparency. That's great. But how to reach there requires some real work. So diversity is great for many reasons. So I don't want to kind of tell you all the reasons. You can find the research on that. Diversity today is really what brings sustainability, resilience, harmony, whatever, everything together. But without the feeling of inclusion, it's a recipe for disaster. So, okay, that's a good example. Maybe you can make it big again. Yeah. This caricature, but like, very... inclusion without diversity, you include someone, but you kind of assimilate, okay? So everybody the same, but only one person diversity, like this. Diversity without inclusion, you create two hubs of different, camps, let's say. But diversity inclusion is when people are kind of all surrounded by diverse people, different, but kind of feel being apart. When we talk about diversity, we're not talking about diversity of your, race, backgrounds, gender, or gender preferences, whatever. We really want to talk about your perspectives. In the team, we want to bring the different perspectives in the picture. It's not only man, woman. It's maybe the masculine and feminine characteristics we all have. I have feminine characteristics. I have masculine characteristics. But how can I put them in work in an environment? So the left hand, the caricature is about somebody serving an apple. And all the people around the table, maybe you don't see it very well, but these are the characters from fairy tales, and I think still Bill Gates is also sitting there. So they all have a kind of different backdrop story with an apple. When they see an apple, they kind of come with different stories, okay? So think about Apple like a new product, a new market, a new manager, a new organizational structure, whatever you name it. Every one of us has a different backdrop story with the Apple. So this is the diversity of perspectives. And that's great, because then we see Apple from every single angle. Everything Apple can cause. Apple is a metaphor, anything. And the second part of diversity is psychological diversity. On this graph, you see a blob tree. It's a great tool for coaching, by the way, for those who do coaching. It's basically a tree with, 21 different characters. And it's basically, the question is, where and how do you feel now? So sometimes in the same work environment, doing the same job, we feel like, 11. Sometimes, You can make it big, please. Yeah, so it's difficult. Yeah, exactly. Maybe 13, maybe 19. So it changes from day to day, and even maybe 14. The question is, whatever the way you feel, you want to have an environment that helps you to move to another position that you would like to reach. The implication of this, when I started banking, it was the same illumination, the same desks, the same way of working environment. And the worst, I'm an industrial engineer, so we even learned the Gilbert, the ergonomics, whatever. Awful. There's no average. But we were taught in the industrial revolution thinking that you find the average, you create the average, and everybody respects the average. And there's no average. There's no one in the average. We know it now. So which means in the work environment now, maybe you have examples of this in Romania as well. There are some corners with a bit dark, some corners with a bit more light, sometimes soft chairs, sometimes hard chairs, because depending on you feel, you want to perform in a different way. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. We have the technology to do it. We have the means to do it. But why? You will say this is like just already spoiled employees. But I said this, by the way. I learned about years ago all these concepts from the global head of HR at LinkedIn. lovely lady. She made a presentation in a small group like this. And then I went to her and I said, I understand, you are a high EBITDA and you spoil your people, okay? She said, no. She said, employee experience, customer experience, and investors' experience are all colliding now. Because you are almost probably investors, aren't you? You may have some account where you invest in equities of companies. There's nothing preventing you. You can. And during the COVID, we had millions of people in the world who became an investor with small amounts of money, but they did, okay? Or you are a customer of those institutions. Or you are an employee. Which means it's just the one feeling. You feel included by this organization or not. And if you feel like a warm, good feeling, you tend to buy their stocks, you tend to become their client, or even you want to work for them. So the inclusion is a feeling that really transcends the borders of the company. So which kind of feeling do you want to project? Okay, going back to mentoring. But before I do that, I will invite you again, sorry for that, but I'd like you to also reflect, okay? Again, find another partner in the room. The same people or different people is up to you. But please reflect on everything I said on inclusion. How do you feel about it? Anything I said? Which feelings comes? Your thinking? Please find another partner or the same as you wish. 3 minutes, short, quick reflection, please. The same in the small rooms in other cities. I see you. Maybe 1 more minute to wrap up. Yeah. All right, maybe I can invite you. All right. You know the drill? Anything you would like to share? Is it possible to hear from the other cities as well, technologically? Okay. Anyone who want to share from the other cities? Raise your hand if you want to kind of say any reflection. So while we encourage you from the room here, any reflection? Yes.
We were talking about the fact that I think in many companies, at least the ones that we know, things have started a little bit from the end with big declarations and big promises in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, when people actually need small actions with great impact. And many times it's very tokenistic. You put it on your website and it's there, and the guard doesn't know how he's involved in that, or, you know, the person in the admin office. What does that mean for them? And then it makes it hard to apply, especially since we have all of this bias and all of this backward thinking, or whatever you want to call it, in us, all of us, regardless of how many minority groups we're part of. So it can feel overwhelming.
Just to complete on that, I think indeed it's starting with yourself, a bit of self-awareness and identifying also where we are biased, because sometimes I think even as HR professionals we position ourselves as, you know, the gatekeepers of the truth or of the well-being, but sometimes we are the ones that need a bit of scrutinizing ourselves. And if we see things as a zero-sum game, of course that the ones that need to give power see it as a loss. But if we see it as diversity, inclusion is bringing in other people and actually us being able to escalate, elevate things at a higher level, that's different. But it's very, very hard to do.
I think in another occasion, I'm also looking for a contribution from there. In another occasion, we may have another session online, offline, on that topic. Because actually, inclusion is really, really challenging our anthropological and sociological backgrounds. Because, as Harari said, those who can collaborate prospered or did better. And how did we achieve this? We created like-minded people. The whole education, the whole religion, the whole whatever you name it, created people like themselves so that they get organized better. Today, and there are many reasons, but to start with technology, machine learning is creating a new word, and when you put in, creates a new word for you. It's a very simple example. I live in Amsterdam, by the way, in the Netherlands, but originally I'm from Turkey. And in Turkish, when Google Translate first came to Turkey, in Turkish there is only one third singular, o. We say o, okay? She or he could be the same word. When you type Google Translate in those days, o is an engineer, he will translate into he is an engineer. When you write O is a nurse, she is a nurse. And you can take this anywhere you like. Whatever the biases we have, whatever the barriers we have, when machine learns about this, it brings. I would really recommend you the project called Implicit. I don't know how many of you know about implicit.harvard.edu. So simple. Implicit project in Harvard. It's been around for, 20 years or whatever. And then they do same. It's a very basic, algorithm. Sorry, I don't want to take your time, but it's a passionate topic for me. So it really tells you which kind of implicit associations you have. It's not just man, woman, work, home, but also tall, short, thin, fat, black, white, colored, Asian, gay, straight, whatever you name it, okay? There are so many parameters. You do your test yourself. It's a very simple algorithm. and it tells you what your associations are. Any kind of privilege we have. Like if you use your right hand, you are privileged. The chairs are designed for right-handed people. You know? All the doors are designed for right-handed people. So many privileges we have, and then we earn these privileges, don't we? Like we study hard, we go to university, we got the diploma, whatever, but they are all barrier in inclusion. And you would say, why to bother? Because that's what a good life. We worked hard, we win it. ChatGPT, 300 million jobs to disappear in the Western Europe and America. Not a joke. And maybe not a bad thing, I don't know. And it happened many times, all through history. Coming again. So inclusion, there are many other reasons. For example, in the platform economies, you don't have to have your target domain. There's no marginal cost of production, whatever, blah, blah. You can address anyone in the long tail. So there are many technological advances, many business-wise changes, demographic changes, the rise of Asia, whatever, many reasons. It's not a joke. It's not a luxury. It's not just a choice. It's a must. And I totally agree with you. Any kind of top-down writing on the walls, we are inclusive, doesn't work. So let's finish our session, because I promised to finish in 1 hour, so I'm only a few minutes left, I know. So on some highlights on mentoring, okay? Because this is now we're going to work on mentoring. A few principles only, okay? It's a reflective practice, which means we don't care about what happened. We do care about what would you do with it. Anything do happen to countries, to regions, to cities, to people, to corporates. Things do happen every day, every moment, every we speak. But it's, the important thing is not about, you know, what happened. It's how would you live with it? And it's not cognitive only. It's not taking a lesson from a lesson learned, whatever. It's also how you feel about it. The human being is not a thinking species. We are a feeling species. From time to time we think. And we tend to forget how we feel when we go to the corporate life or a university or whatever, but we are always feeling. So reflective practice is about the way you feel, the things that trigger your emotions, and how you deal with them. So I'm going to share a kind of model as well, but you can find your own model. So reflective practice is the essence of coaching, of mentoring, or supervision, everything. So this is the first thing. The second thing, maybe goes with the first one, being kind of victim, the unbearable lightness of being whatever, so unbearable lightness of being victim, to be in charge of your life. Because you can have a happy, ignorant life when you feel victim, but that doesn't really bring a better place in today's life. So mentoring is all about helping mentee and mentor to be in charge of their life, whatever they can change, but to be in charge. And being not judgmental. Empathy, we use it pretty wrong most of the time. There are two types of empathy. One is cognitive empathy, one is emotional empathy. And emotional empathy goes to sympathy. Because if I start feeling like you, it's a sympathy, and it doesn't help us. Because we kind of collide. We hug each other and we say, you're right, you're wishy-washy, very nice place to be, whatever. But that's not what we want. We want to grow, we want to change, we want to be challenged. Brené Brown describes empathy like this metaphor. You have a child, young age, crying in dark. You go to the room in the middle of the night. What would you do? Turn on the light. Turning on the light, turning on the lights in a dark room where a child cries is not empathy. Empathy is to stay with that child in that dark room, to show the courage that he or she is not alone, and to feel the same together. And then maybe the child will learn and tell you when to turn on the light. So this is a metaphor. It goes or not, whatever. But in mentoring, we don't necessarily tell people what to do, how to sort out, whatever. So if they are in dark, and all of us feel in dark, okay, from time to time, it's normal. So we don't want to be alone in dark. So the mentor's role is to be together with that person, to show the courage that can stay in dark together with. It's inclusive, non-judgmental. Here and now, we're not talking about dwelling in the past, change your past, you can't. We don't care about the future because the future you can't really control. Tomorrow will come tomorrow, okay? But whatever the impact of your excitement about the future or your hopes about the future, it's where we work, here and now. Mentoring is all about now and here. Then curiosity. But curiosity is a great attribute. Where to focus your curiosity is the art. Tina Turner, art. Because when you focus your curiosity on mentors' learning, it doesn't help. Just think of like a triangle, okay? A mentor, mentee, and the issue. I'm not talking about the problem, an issue, okay? Mentee and issue. Our curiosity is about this line. Among all the things that could happen in the world, what's going on here and now so that my mentee comes with that issue? We'd like to create new perspectives about this issue. Then when the mentee develops more thinking, more perspectives, then comes the role of the mentor as context sharing, bring the contextual wisdom, bring inspiration, the role model. But before elaborating what's the issue and the relationship of issue with the mentee, we're not in the right place. So when you sort the problem, it's not mentoring. When you deal with the person, it's not. But when you really work, focus on the relationship between the issue and the person, and when your curiosity is there, all the other competences are much easier to perform, like listening, advice, questioning, and everything. So basically, the rest is examples of this. This is the competency framework of EMCC. It starts with understanding self, as you see, and goes back to understanding self. It's a kind of holistic model we have in EMCC. Then this is a model you can use for Gibbs or Schoen that we use for reflective practice. I just put them like a reference here. And this is the ISMCP. When you design your program, I will encourage my colleagues to help you with this. It's not a prescriptive mode. It's a benchmarking tool, and we give it to everyone in the world. And you can go deeper. It really helps the design of the program because it starts with the clarity of the purpose. If you don't have a clarity of purpose, it's very difficult to design a mentoring program. And it goes for stakeholders, the matching process, and then the ethical framework, and then the evaluation and the support of the program. 6 headings that you may find very useful. And let me finish. I think it's time for me to finish with a saying from Rumi. There are many translations of this. One says, "Why in the abundance of the universe do you choose to put yourself in a prison?" It simply translates, whenever you hear either or, I don't know how you say it in Romanian, but either or, there is a work to be done for coaching and mentoring. Because there is always a third way. There is always the abundance of the universe that you can bring different perspectives, different solutions. It's like Grove Mother, okay? So you create your realities, you understand it better, you develop more opportunities, and then you decide on your way forward. As it says, in the abundance of universe, if someone chooses to put themselves in a prison, I mean either or, then there's a work to be done. So I think that's a good place for me to stop, and thank you for your patience and time and energy listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, questions from, if you have some question from Iași, Cluj, Timișoara, please send it by WhatsApp. Comments? I have a question.
Oh my goodness, okay. I'm ready. Okay. By the way, I like this technology, so it's kind of fun to play with. So, okay.
Yeah. So, I'm a young professional, and I say, tell me what to do. You are a mentor, not a coach. What would you say to me? Tell me what to do now.
What makes you think that, I'm the right person to tell you what to do?
You're my boss.
I'm not your boss.
No?
You called me as a mentor.
Okay.
So what makes you think that I'm the right person to tell you?
You are older, you have, so much experience before me, so you've been in this organization before, you know how things are working, okay? So you?
Past 20 years is not going to be like the next 20 years. So whatever I did in the past, most probably it worked for me, but I'm not sure it will work for you. So before you decide where to focus, whatever I tell you will be not useful. So I'd like to choose what to share with you after you tell me, what are your priorities, your feelings, your realities, what's going on in the world, in your world. Then I will do my best to choose the ones that will serve you best. But no guarantee, okay? So the agreement between us, you can always tell me bullshit. I had this agreement with my daughter. She can always tell me since the age of 4, cut that, so too long. The same applies with you. If I start telling about me, you can always feel free to tell me it's not relevant. But once you feel it's relevant, I will be at your service.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Comments? Questions?
By the way, this is a very important topic. Like when you face the mirror, you like yourself, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah, there are bad hair days, but in general, if my daughter can be like me, that's good enough, isn't it? It's the biggest obstacle in mentoring. Because if she repeats what I've done, most probably she will be a loser. Because things change, many things change. Whatever I did best in 20, 40 years ago, whatever, totally not relevant. As you said, most of the competencies in our time no longer valid, whatever. But this is embedded in me, okay? The people I like, the people I love, I want them to be like me. Although I know I'm not the solution. This is the art of mentoring. You still put yourself at the service of your mentee, but knowing that you don't have to get attached to what you are. You let it go to see something else. And you never know there's something else better or worse. So that's the beauty. That's where you should put really your curiosity.
Thank you. So, if there are not many comments right now, let's, because we have a shorter break, let's move here, come back here in 20 minutes at 15 to 4 and start the second part of the question. Sorry, Anca. You send it? Zio too.
Okay. So we have a question from Iași. You said during the presentation that mentoring is a relationship of learning and dialogue. What can you do if you identify a mentor, ask them to be your mentor and they accept, but more out of courtesy, not because they have the time or the inclination to be a mentor?
Excellent question. In the design of the programs, we always advise. It's kind of voluntary, isn't it? And the biggest requirement from both sides is the commitment. Time and being ready. For example, in the training, we learn how to ask powerful, resonating questions. And you know why we don't use them in daily life? Sometimes people ask me how I feel. How are you? And I reply in the real manner, how I feel, how am I? And they are really they regret they ask this question. Nobody has time. In mentoring, we should have time. So that's why, great question. If you're a mentor or a mentee, be prepared to dedicate your time, your presence. That's the first thing. That's the first thing.
Okay, thank you. And another one from Timișoara. From a mentor's perspective, what guidance would you offer on the topic on how to get someone out of his comfort zone without feeling overwhelmed?
It's a sentence full of contradictions. But let me start with something. We don't have to get out of our comfort zone all the time. I know that there's a big machine, the big word, imposing us that we should always grow. We should always grow. Companies should grow. Economies should grow. People should grow. Maybe not all the time, okay? So if you don't feel ready to embark a new journey, you don't have to push yourself, because many people do push, and burnout is a big issue in the world, in the Western world especially. So the first job is, are you really ready and willing to take anything on board? Or if you really feel the urgency to do it, then the journey starts. And then whatever the overwhelmed you are, you have all the courage, all the resources to deal with it. You know, people in general, I would say, we are all tend to be happily suffering as long as we believe in something. For example, I don't want to kind of cause any trouble in the last minute of my speech, but those big guys like Elon Musk, do you really want to work with this guy? For this guy? Everything I said is not, or maybe Trump or whatever, so you name any. But there are many people who are really willing to work with them because they are happy to suffer because they believe in something. Those people are changing the world and everything. So that's why once you are really ready, the overwhelm or burnout or stress disappears because you are all ready to really put yourself as long as you believe in. But nobody can force you to feel the same way. Like the horses, you can't really force them to drink. None of us, we are really there to be forced. But once you believe in it, it comes. That's the art, yeah. Finished?
Thank you.
Oh, no big, whatever, disappointment.
No. Thank you very much. See you in 15 minutes back.